think where we left off was we're in Fit 3, and the lady comes to him, the knight's wife, comes to Sir Gawain for the third time. Remember the night before, the knight says, I'm trying to find it. Hold on just a second. Page 269. The knight says, line 1680. Now tomorrow, remember, best throw third time. Okay? So let's make merry while we can. Think only of joy, for misery can be found whenever a man wants it. Here's a positive outlook on life. Yeah, he's not wrong. So, we're picking up on page 270. The knight and his hunters, his men, get up in the morning. They go off and they go hunting for a fox. But we're told, meanwhile, back at the castle, line 1733. Out of love, the lady did not let herself sleep, nor the purpose to weaken that was fixed in her heart. Now, we don't know what that purpose is, other than what her actions demonstrate to us. But we don't know if her actions are actually revealing what's the real motivation. So she rose from her bed quickly, hastened there in a charming mantle, reaching to the ground, richly lined with well-trimmed furs, no modest coif on her head, skillfully cut gems arrayed about her hair, fret in clusters of 20. Now, what does that mean, carefully cut gems? What's she wearing on her head or in her hair? Jewels. Yeah. Who does she look like, in other words? A Hollywood actress for what night of the year? Academy Awards. I mean, she's dressed for what? Dressed to impress. Her lovely face and throat displayed uncovered. Her breast was exposed. Her shoulders bare. She enters the chamber, not breast exposed, low cut. Shuts the door after her, throws open a window, and she yells to him, "How can you sleep?" And we're told, and we talked about this a little bit, he's what? He is in the stupor of a dream. So what kind of dream? What does it mean if you were in a stupor? Usually what word comes before that? Drunken. Okay? Dead to the world. But he's not. What's this dream doing to him? He's kind of twitching. He's what's coming up for him? Not this day, but the next day.
Being beheaded.
Yeah, being beheaded. Okay? But when the lovely one spoke, he recovered his wits, 1755, broke out of his dreaming, and hastily replied. So she approaches him. She bends over, kisses him. He welcomes her politely with charming demeanor. Why? Chivalry. They're both acting according to manners, courtly custom. And then we're told, 1760, seeing her so radiant and attractively dressed, every part of her so perfect and in color so fine, hot, passionate feeling welled up in his heart. Hot, passionate feeling implies what?
He's down.
Okay. What else? Lust. I mean, he looks at her this time and he's thinking, I'm dead tomorrow. I mean,
might as well.
Might as well. So, smiling gently and courteously, they made playful speech. Again, emphasis on courteousness. They made playful speech, so that all that passed between them was happiness, joy, and delight. Notice, the poet doesn't say, yeah, but they're plotting evil. They're, thinking of what they're going to do. Gracious words they spoke. Pleasure reached its height. Great peril threatened. Should Mary not mind her knight? Notice the peril. If Mary, up in heaven, doesn't remember Sir Gawain, he's what? He's gone. He will fulfill, how is it put? His hot, passionate feeling. Why did great peril threaten? Because pleasure reached its height. And Freud would just go bananas with this language, okay? It can't go anywhere else. If Mary doesn't, why is it Mary? Why does it fall on Mary? I don't mean theologically, why isn't it Jesus? Why isn't it God? Why is it Mary? Why isn't it great peril threatened? Should the knight not think of Mary? Now, this does involve a huge theological question or a huge theological issue, because the poet is suggesting he can't do what at this point? He needs, let me put it this way, he needs what?
Divine intervention. From,
quote, God or Mary. Divine intervention, typically called grace. He needs grace in order to do what? Not screw up. Literally. For that noble lady, notice what comes right after. If Mary doesn't pay attention to him, for that noble lady so constantly pressed, pushed him so close to the verge. What's the verge? Literally, it's the edge. What's the edge? Sex, not sex. Sex, not sex. Okay? It's that verge. What other verge is it?
heaven or hell.
Heaven? Hell. It's the abyss. Okay? Pushed him so close to the verge that either, here's the other verge, he must take her love there and then, or churlishly reject it. Either have sex with her or churlishly reject it. No, notice the poet is implying what? There's no other way he can reject her. The only way he can reject her is by acting like a churl. Churl comes from the Old English, it's spelled Middle English, churl, comes from the Old English this. And this kind of person is what? The lowest level of society. It's kind of like saying, let's think of the ranking of levels of society according to like IQ. A churl would be what? Moron. Only a moron would say no to her. Well, what did she say earlier? Only a stupid woman would say no to you. Because she said what? You're big, you're strong, got bulging muscles, you could take me if you... And it's like, sweetie, we don't do that in my country. I mean, maybe that's what you guys do up here, but we don't do that, okay? So he either has to have sex with her or he's a churl. If he's a churl, then what does that say about him? He's not everything we've been told about Sir Gawain. All of that is a lie. In fact, not only is all of that a lie, but all of this is a lie too. The whole chivalric system, the whole courtly system, the whole idea of manners in and of itself, courtesy, proper behavior, it's all a lie. So, have sex or deny everything about yourself. Those are his two choices. That's the verge. He's kind of what? Damned if he does and damned if he doesn't, right? This is your catch-22 kind of a thing. So, he felt concerned for good manners. Why? Because he's a knight within both the courtly love tradition, but more importantly, within the chivalric tradition, within the Arthurian tradition. And what dominates and motivates a knight? The idea of courtesy. Not courtesy opening the door for a woman, though that's part of that tradition. Okay? Courtesy what? Go back to that Pentecost oath that I talked about the other day. And the very basis of knighthood essentially says what? Service to somebody else is more important than service to myself. Service to somebody else is more important than me. And I quoted Dr. Strange. It's not about you. It's always about the other. So he felt concerned for good manners, lest he behaved like a boor. What's a boor? How many of you have seen the film Hitch? Few of you. You remember the scene where Hitch meets the one guy who's trying to get, what's her name's girlfriend into bed, and she's just a ditz. I mean, she's stupid, okay? And Hitch says, you're a pig, and says no to the guy. But the guy does end up having sex with Katie or Kelly or whatever her name is. He ends up having sex with her, and then he meets up with Hitch again, and he says what? All this for a lousy lay. What's he mean by that? Or let me put it this way. What does he show by that? That word boor, that was made for him. Classless, mannerless, courteousless. Why? Because in his case, it's what? It's all about me. It's what he wants. Okay? So, Sir Gawain is saying here, or thinking, if he doesn't show good manners, if he doesn't, demonstrate that, and if he behaves like a boor, then is it just him that it reflects on? No. It's the whole Arthurian court. Okay? And he thinks, it goes on, and still more, lest he shame himself by an act of sin. Has sin been mentioned? The very word? In any of the previous interludes? No, it hasn't. And treacherously betray the lord of the castle. Why just that lord? Look at the very first one of these rules. Marriage should not be a deterrent to love. That doesn't mean, marriage, like when my wife and I were dating, that if I thought of marriage, that should be a deterrent. No, that means my marriage to my wife should not be a deterrent to my finding somebody else to fall in love with. That's what it means. Notice, it's number one. So don't let the little problem of a marriage stop you, okay? And treacherously betray the lord of the castle. What did he do when he went in, when he was welcomed in? The lord of the castle said, everything's here. And what did he say? I am yours. I'm here to serve you. And what does he say to the two ladies? At your service. That is, I'm nothing. I'm yours to command. Well, she's kind of already commanded him a couple times, right? And we're told he answered. He verbally parried back and forth. Why? Because he's keeping his oath to his lord, the local lord at the castle, as well as his, let's call him his overlord. And yeah, there are biblical kind of, or Christian overtones here. Who's his overlord? Not the one up there, Arthur. If he proves false to this lord, who else does he prove false to? Arthur. God forbid. Notice, these are thoughts. And he verbally says, hell no. God forbid. That shall not come about. I think she's probably going, who are you talking to? What won't come about? With affectionate laughter, he put to one side all the loving inducements that fell from her mouth. Inducements. What is an inducement? A proposition. That's bold language. What else can be an inducement? How do car manufacturers, quote unquote, induce you to buy their car? What might they do? What might an inducement be? Advertisement. Saying what? 0% financing for, 180 months, which is, 10 years? It's a long time. 0%. So what's that? Why is that an inducement? It means 0% finance means you pay no interest, right? Well, that's a pretty good inducement. So what kind of inducements is she letting fall from her mouth? I think if the previous two interviews are an indication, what might else she be saying? He's gone again. We're here all alone. Just you and me. No one will know. You're going to see the same kind of language later on, by the way, in a poem by John Donne, where it's going to be a male speaker speaking to a female speaker. And he's essentially going to say, come on, have sex with me. You're not going to lose your honor. Virginity, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Just you and I. Okay? So, you said that lady to the knight, you deserve rebuke if you feel no love for the person you are, well, now look at this, lying beside. Now, is that because she's sitting on the edge of his bed and he's still lying? Or has she kind of snuck him alongside him? You deserve rebuke, she says, if you feel no love for the person you are lying beside, more than anyone on earth wounded in her heart. What has she just told him? If she feels wounded in her heart, she feels what? It's rejected. Can't do that. Can't. Violates the law of courtly love. You have to turn her down without her feeling turned down. Yeah. And then she gives him a great big door to walk right through. Here's his out. Okay? No rebuke if this is the cause. And what's the door she gives him? Unless you have a mistress, someone you prefer, and have plighted troth with that lady, so strongly tied that you wish not to break it, which now I believe. Down here somewhere, I can't remember which one, but the other copy of this I've got things highlighted. It's, you got to keep your love secret. Okay? It's kind of, I'm not saying it is what she's saying, but it's kind of implied. You haven't spoken about her before, and she goes, that's okay, you don't need to name her, but if you have a mistress, someone you're engaged to, it's cool, I understand. What could he do? Yeah, that's the ticket. John Lovett from the old Saturday Night Live. That's right. Mm-hmm. And I beg you now to confess that honestly. Is that it? Is that your problem? For all the loves in the world, hide not the truth in guile. That is, don't be deceitful to me. See, if she had just said, if you've got a girlfriend that you're engaged to, okay, just tell me that. But that's not what she says. Because she says, just tell me that, and then adds what to it? And don't lie to me. Damn. By St. John, patron saint of hospitality, which means you don't swear and lie to your host. She's his host here. All right? And gave a pleasant smile. No, I have no one. Nope. Nor am I looking for one either. Okay, what could that be? Smack. That's like a verbal slap across the face. No, I'm not looking for a lover either, because according to the rules of courtly love, in fact, she's married, don't worry about it. He's not in there for a long-term relationship. She's there for, a 3-day relationship apparently, because after tomorrow, She says that remark, it's the worst you could make. I've answered indeed, and painfully I feel. Kiss me now lovingly, and I will hasten from here. I must spend my life grieving as a woman deeply in love. Oh, okay, what did he say about her when she said, I'm just an innocent young flower who's never learned anything about love? He says, honey, you've been picked a whole lot more than those flowers. He says, you know more than what?
120.
150. You know more by half than 100 such men do about love. Okay? And now, I must spend my life grieving as a woman deeply in love. You know, and she doesn't say it, and he doesn't imply it, but it's kind of like, you know, until her husband gets back. Or her husband's nights. Sighing, she stooped down and kissed him sweetly. Remember, she's real low cut, you know, top on. And then moves away from him and says, standing there, now do me this kindness at parting. Give me something as a present. For instance, your glove. Give me your glove, that I may remember you to lessen my sorrow. She wants what? A love token. Okay? A love token. Give me your glove. Well, what happens if he gives her his glove? Then he only has one glove. What? And he says, shoot, I wish I had something here, the dearest thing in the world I possess for your love. For you have truly deserved wonderfully often more recompense by right than I can repay. But to give you a love token, something worth little would do you no honor. I can't give you a glove. It's like giving you a used handkerchief. I mean, that's disgusting. He says, if I had the thing I value the most with me, I would give that to you. You think he's telling the truth? Because I don't think he is telling her the truth. Yeah, I don't think he wants to leave the G off, his love to her. Okay? So, he says, to have at this time a glove for a keepsake as Sir Gawain's gift. Why? I'm here on a mission in unknown country, have no servants with bags full of precious things, and that grieves me, lady, for your sake at this time. But each man must do as conditions allow. Take no offense or pain. Take no offense or pain means what? Sorry. I can't give you anything. Why? Oh, this is good. Because you're worth the greatest treasure in the world. And I don't have that with me.
Words.
Yeah. So, no, most honored sir, said that lady free, though I get no gift from you, you shall have one from me. And she pulls out a ring. Okay? Finely worked gold, sparkling jewels, standing up high, facets. Take my word, it's worth an enormous sum, the poet says. And he says, no, can't take it. I want no gifts, I swear, dear lady, at this time. I have nothing to offer you, nothing will I take. Why? Gift giving is always, supposedly what? According to anthropologists.
From the powerful to the powerless?
No. It's always an exchange. I give you something, you give me something. That's an exchange. That's what? That's an economic exchange. But this is what anthropologists say. Gift giving, they say, always involves that kind of exchange. If I give you something, it might not be that you give me a gift in return, but you give me something in return. Why? Because my gift giving to you is not altruistic. It's because I want something. So I give you something. And you better figure out what it is I want. Okay? So he said, no, I don't want any gifts from you. Why? Because I don't have anything to give to you. She pressed him insistently. She does that a lot, pressing him. And he declines her request, swearing quickly on his word he would never touch it. And she was grieved that he refused it and said to him then, okay, so you don't want my ring because you think it's too precious. And again, Freud would go crazy with the symbolism of the ring. Hamlet does it, by the way, in Hamlet, if you're familiar with the play. I won't touch that anymore. And she's grieved that he refuses the ring. And says, okay, so I'm not going to give you my ring. Where does the ring go? Where do you wear a ring, typically? I know you can wear it in your nose and in your ear. The finger, right? It goes around your finger. She says, no, you won't take my ring. Okay, take my girdle. Where's her girdle go? Around her waist. Now we should clue Hamlet. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern say about fortune, faith, her private's we. When Hamlet says, oh, so you live about fortune's waist. Okay? They say, faith, her private's we. And Hamlet says, yeah, she always was a strumpet. Fortune, the goddess, who controls our lives down here, is a whore. Why? She sleeps with everything. People, animals, paper, computers. I just got a new one. Why? Because my old one slept with Fortune and wore out. Everything wears out because Fortune, So, she takes her girdle off. It's not a girdle. It's what? It's a green piece of silk. That's it. It's just a thin sash. She takes it off. She unbuckles it, fastens it over her girdle beneath the fine mantle, woven of green silk, trimmed with gold. There's a little detail there that he should kind of be going. Green. Green and gold. I saw a guy about a year ago. All green. He had some gold stuff in his hair, too. Anyways, embroidered at the edges, decorated by hand, and this she offered to the knight, sweetly implored him that despite its slight value, he would accept it. He said, nope, can't take it. Okay? Quit insisting. I'm deeply in your debt because of your kind favor. I will, through thick and thin, remain your servant forever. Well, till about noon tomorrow, And she goes, oh, I know why you're refusing this. You're refusing my ring because it's so costly, because it's so wealthy. You're refusing this because you think, crappy little piece of silk. No. And so truly it, what? Appears. And she introduces the distinction. It's actually been introduced earlier. The distinction between how something appears and what?
What it actually is.
What it is. Or introduces the medieval difference between something's accidents and its substance. Chaucer's going to play with this idea. Why? Because an accident is the form something takes, its appearance to our eyes. Its substance or substance is its actual essence, what it is actually made of. So, for example, this bottle, right, has what? Accidents. What does it appear to be? I use the word. It's a bottle, right? What other appearance does it have? Louder? Plastic. Okay? That's its appearance. What is its essence? Its substance? Nope, that's what it's holding. It's holding water. What's the plastic bottle actually literally made out of?
Oil?
Petroleum. And we could go even farther back. What's petroleum? Dead dinosaurs. This is a baby T-Rex. Okay? And we could go even further back, if we really, really, really wanted to go, reductio ad absurdum, atoms, all that kind of stuff. Okay? So she says, you won't take my belt. Why? Because it appears, it's accidents, it's just a piece of green silk. Doesn't have anything to it. What's its substance? Okay, it is silk. What else? This isn't your everyday, ordinary silk that you get on the Hancock Fabrics and buy. Why? She says, for whoever is buckled into this green belt, as long as it is tightly fastened about him, there is no man on earth who can strike him down. The warning bells start going off. You go, For he cannot be killed by any trick in the world. Why does she not say any blow in the world? Any sword in the world? Any spear in the world? Any, axe in the world? Any trick? It's kind of like it's an anti-trickster device. Again, he should be thinking, but he's not. So, the knight reflected, that is, go all Doctor Strange and freeze time for a moment. And he sits there and goes, Notice, he reflected and it flashed into his mind. This would be a godsend for the hazard that he must face when he reached the chapel to receive his deserts. What word did he use? What noun? This would be a what? God sent. That is, something sent by God. This would be if God sends something that's useful, beneficial, etc., it's what? Go back to the wanderer. Are yebedeth. Waits for, experiences, longs for, what's the are? Favor, grace, merit, gift. Okay? This would be a godsend. As hot as she is, she's not God. She's not Mary. Could he escape being killed? The trick would be splendid. Why trick? I'll pull a fast one over that Green Knight's eyes. If I can have this, then I won't be killed. So, where does he... I don't want to give away the word I want to use. What happens to his faith? Louder? Renewed in what? Is it in God? No. It gets transferred to this piece of cloth.
But he's like trying to make it, oh, God sent this to me.
Yeah, God sent this to me, so therefore it's okay. Okay, what is the agreement he has reached with the knight? He's got to give this away now. So it's God sent, and then, I got to give it away. Which means tomorrow when I meet the knight,
Well, didn't he also just swear to God that he would not take anything from her?
well, he declared absolutely he would never agree to take either gold or keepsake before God gave him grace to finish the task he had undertaken.
Oh, so this
Now,
is God's grace.
this might be his tortured, twisted logic saying, this is God giving me grace, belt, to finish the task I've undertaken. But then later he thinks about it and it's described how? It's a trick. Okay, so he keeps going. Then he suffered her pleading and allowed her to speak. Like when Jesus says, suffer the little children unto me. What does that mean? Allow them to come to me. He suffered her pleading means he listened. He listened. And she pressed the belt on him, offering it once, and he consented and gave way with good grace. Well, okay, if you're going to make me. And she begged him for her sake never to reveal it, but loyally hide it from her husband. And what does he just agree to?
Deceive her husband.
Who he's promised to give whatever he wins at the castle. And now she gets him to swear, don't ever tell my husband about this. So how does he fulfill his oath to her husband? So he's got to lie to somebody. Bob Dylan said, in his Christian faith, you got to serve. Who's he going to serve? Him, her. She's prettier. And this might let him live. So he's going to have to lie to the Lord. Not the Lord, but the local Lord.
Kind of both.
So, maybe kind of both. We'll talk about that. So, Gawain gives his word that no one should ever know of it, not for anything but themselves. He gave her heartfelt thanks with earnest mind and sense. By then she has 3 times kissed that valiant prince. She takes her departure. She leaves him there. For more pleasure from that man was not to be had. He does what? He gets up, dresses himself, puts away the love token, hides it where he can find it again, and he goes to the chapel. Why? Because he's going to die that day. Maybe, or the next day. So he goes to the chapel and he does what? He approaches a priest privately, okay, and besought him there to hear his confession. I don't think that means he sneaks up to a priest and goes. It means he goes to a priest for private confession. Okay? And we're told, besought him there to hear his confession, instruct him more clearly how his soul could be saved when he leaves this world. So he asked the priest, how can I be saved? What did Jesus tell the rich young ruler who came to him and said, Master, how can I be saved? He says, follow the law of the prophets. What are the prophets? Go. He said, yeah, I've done all that. And they were told, and then Jesus perceived. And he said, go and sell all that you have. Come and follow me. So, do what?
Sell everything you got.
Sell everything you have. And the translation there, the King James English, sell, is probably using sell in its old English context, which means give it all away. Okay? Give it all away, come and follow me. So, if that's what the priest tells him, and I'm not saying it is, but he's asking, how can I be saved? And when Jesus was asked, how can I be saved? This was the answer he gave. What should he do? Give the sash away. But he doesn't. So, priest hears his confession, instructs him how the soul could be saved. He confesses himself honestly. He admits his sins. Notice, we don't have an unreliable narrator. We don't have a narrator who says, wink, wink, he confesses all of his sins. He confesses all of his known sins at that point. Okay? Great and small, he begs forgiveness. Priest, offers him absolution. Notice the priest absolved him completely. And does what? Makes him as clean as if the judgment were appointed for the next day. Nice little juxtaposition. So, Sir Gawain is now, at this moment, clean as not the day he was born, because in the medieval Catholic Church's perspective, you're not clean from the day you're born. The very fact that you were conceived means you are conceived with sin. So the baby in utero is sinful. That's why little bastard needs to be baptized very, very quickly. Because if he's not, dies, goes to hell. Hell. Not necessarily Dante's nice, wonderful little limbo out on the outskirts of hell, beachfront property, hell, suffering, torment kind of thing. Okay? What's the problem?
He leaves and goes and makes merry.
Okay, he goes and has fun and everything. What's he going to do that evening?
Lie.
He's going to lie.
And kind of steal.
Kind of steal by breaking the oath. Because the sash really belongs where?
To the night.
According to the oath he swore to the night before, it's his. He just has to give it to him. Okay? You think he confessed that? Would it matter? See, according to the quote-unquote laws, the rules of confession, you can't confess a sin you have not yet committed. You can't pre-confess. Why? Because you haven't done it yet. It has to come afterwards. Why? Because you can't be penitent. You can't feel repentant for something you're planning to do. A rapist can't go to a priest and say, Father, forgive me, for I'm about to sin. Why? She's really hot. I just got to get some of that. And then, the priest says, I absolve you. And then you go and rape her. This is a problem we're going to see if we ever get there. We're going to see later in the semester when we will talk about indulgences, which was a practice in the late medieval church of, I'll talk about it now, of selling pieces of paper issued by the Pope that got you out of purgatory.
Interesting.
Or reduced your time in purgatory. Okay?
Like a monopoly card?
Yeah, kind of. But you didn't have to roll the dice and pull the card from chance or community chest. What you did was, according to what we know, This really pissed off Martin Luther. That's why he started what became the Protestant Reformation. A guy named Johannes Tetzel, and I will talk about this again when we get to the Renaissance. But a guy named Johannes Tetzel, John Tetzel, who was an indulgence seller, was in Luther's neighborhood one day, and he's coming around, and he says, as soon as a coin in the coffer clinks, a soul from purgatory springs. That is, throw money in the offering plate, and I can buy one of your ancestors, or I can get one of your ancestors out of purgatory. So, I can not only buy an indulgence for me, but let's say James is my father, and James died, I don't know, 20 years ago. And I know James was a pretty bad SOB. Well, I could buy an indulgence to get James out of purgatory. Pretty cool, right? But it also meant, according to the practice, I could buy an indulgence for me for something I haven't yet done. Like, go all Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm Rocket. I like that phone. I want that phone. Sir, can I, if I want that phone, can I have it? He says, no, that's that. Well, too bad, because I have this. This gets me out of purgatory for stealing this phone. Okay? So, he can't pre-confess that sin. So he might be clean as the wind-driven snow at this point, but within a few short hours, he's going to have at least one sin still on him. And if you have one, it's what? It's not just a little, the board's mostly right. Little taint. That one little sin turns the whiteboard into a blackboard. It turns the whiteboard into everything that is not white. I don't care what color you want to make it. It's tainted. Okay? So, he makes noble with the ladies. They dance, they eat, they have fun. The knight comes back. The knight goes, here, I killed a fox for you. He goes, cool, I can make a hit. Here's what I got today. And he gives him 3 kisses. Okay? So, next morning, hold on, let's see here. Page 276. The knight and Sir Gawain talk, and Sir Gawain gives him the 3 kisses. The knight gives him the stinking fox pelt, and Sir Gawain says, enough. I thank you by the rood. That is, by the cross of Christ, I thank you. Just kind of, throwing the weight onto his shoulders that he's about to bear. So, Sir Gawain tells the Lord that evening, as they all get ready and go to bed, for such a wonderful stay as I have had here, honored by you at this holy feast, may God repay you. I offer myself as your servant. So, putting himself again as his servant. If you agree, for I'm compelled, as you know, to leave tomorrow. I have to go to the Green Chapel, etc., etc. The Lord says, don't worry. Everything I ever promised you, I will give. He appoints a servant to show Sir Gawain how to get to the Green Chapel. Okay? So he kisses and addresses them both with tears and kisses. They commit him to Christ, blah, 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 blah. Part 4. New Year approaches, night wears away, morning comes, Sir Gawain lies in bed listening. He hears the cock crow. He's thinking, I'm a dead man. I've got the green sash, but I'm a dead man. Why? Does he know the sash will protect him? No. Has he tested it? Put it on somebody? Here. Famous last words. Watch this. No, he hasn't tested it. Yeah, hold my beer. So he puts on his armor and he puts on the sash. He goes outside. His horse is made ready. The porter comes. He leads him on his way. And we're told, page 279, bottom of the page. The guide says, I've guided you here, sir, on this day, line 2091. And now you are not far from that notorious place that you have searched and inquired for so specially. But I shall tell you truly, since I know who you are, and you are a man whom I love dearly, if I were you, I wouldn't go there. There lives a man in that wilderness, the worst in the world, for he is powerful and grim and loves dealing blows, is bigger than any other man on earth. His body is mightier than the 4 strongest men in Arthur's household, Hector or any other. Okay? He brings it about so that nobody goes past the Green Chapel. If you're just out wandering in the woods and you walk past the Green Chapel, he kills you. Okay? To him, 2109, killing seems as pleasant as enjoying his own life. Therefore, I tell you, if you go there, you'll be killed. Therefore, 2118, let the man be, and for God's sake, get away from here by some other road. Why for God's sake? Because what does that literally mean? For the sake, for the benefit, for the well-being of God. Leave. How can Sir Gawain hurt God? God is that beyond which cannot be conceived. If he's that beyond which cannot be conceived, he's also what? That beyond which can be harmed. You can't do anything to hurt God. Okay? So, he says, go home some other way. Let Christ be your help. And I'll swear by God and all his saints, I led you to the chapel. Your secret's safe with me. Don't worry, go a different way. And Sir Gawain says, I truly, howsoever closely you kept it, 2129, if I avoided this place, took to my heels in fright, meaning, run away, Monty Python, like a coward, in the way you propose, I should be a cowardly knight, and could not be excused. As I looked up the Pentecostal oath, and I thought of printing it out, but I thought since I gave you one thing, I didn't want to give you something else. One of the things in a Pentecostal oath is, if you are ever challenged, you never say no. So you never say no to a challenge, and you never turn your back on a foe. One reason for that is you don't know if your foe is an Arthurian knight, because you never shoot or stab somebody in the back either. So if you're going to kill somebody, you do it looking in their eyes. Okay? So, he says, I would be a cowardly knight, could not be excused. I will go to the chapel, whatever may chance. Except, isn't he, cue the, insurance company, in good hands? Because he's wearing the green sash of Allstate? And discuss with that man whatever matter I please, whether good or ill, as destiny decides. Destiny, fate, chance. Though an opponent grim to deal with, club in hand, his faithful servants, God knows well to defend. What has he just said? One, God will defend me. Why? Because I'm a faithful servant to him. Shh, don't talk about last night. He says, okay, have fun storming the castle, because, So he says, all right, here's how you get there. Go down there, turn left. So he goes. He keeps looking for the chapel, but he can't find it. And he comes to a mound. He sees 2173. Yeah, 1, 2. A rounded hillock on the bank of a stream, near the bed of a torrent. It's a big hill. He goes to the mound. He walks around it. Wonders what it could be. It has a hole at one end and on either side. Okay? Covered all over with grass, hollow inside. So what is it, obviously? It's a big mound with a hole at either end, or at one end at least, and on either side. I don't know if that means, got an entrance here, and then it's got two holes here, or if it's like that. But it's hollow inside. This is a burial mound. Okay, this is a barrow. You put things in here, close it up, leave them. Beowulf's treasure, dragon, whole 9 yards. Okay? So, he goes in, nothing but an old cave. Or a fissure in an old rock. What to call it, he could hardly tell. Well, which is it? Is it a mound? Is it a cave? Or is it a hole in a rock? Because those are three very different things, by the way. So he thinks this place looks evil, grass overgrown. Here, fittingly, might the man dressed in green perform his devotions in devilish ways. What have we seen that says the Green Knight is a devil? Or devoted to the devil? Did he have devil written on his chest? Did he have I am Satan, on his forehead?
No, but they cut his head off and he just picked it up and walked away with it.
Sure. Guess what? In the early church, there are all kinds of accounts in the lives of the saints of people being boiled alive and hopping out of the cauldrons, people being flayed alive and getting up and walking, people being punctured with all kinds of arrows and going and living for 2 more years, people having their heads off and putting them on and living. Okay? So that's odd. It's not everyday occurrence, but it's not quote unquote unknown or within the life or lower T tradition of the church, outside the realm of possibility. So he's kind of assuming all this stuff about the Green Knight. It's the most damnable, and now he goes from it being a hole in a rock, a cave, a mound, to a church. It is the most 2196 damnable church I was ever inside. Okay? So he climbs up to the top of it, and then he hears a deafening noise. Not about you, but a deafening noise is like every now and then you go to an airport and they don't have the enclosed walkways and you have to actually go out to the tarmac and there's another plane, big old 757 getting ready to land and it's like, hello, I used to have ears. What deafening noise is this? It's the big grinding stone turning and the Green Knight sharpening his axe. It echoed in the cliffs as though they would split, as if someone with a grindstone were sharpening a scythe. And we're told the sounds it make, and Sir Gawain's like, well, I suppose these doings are a welcoming ceremony arranged in my honor as a knight. God's will be done. So does he take the sash off? I commit myself wholly into your hands, O Lord. No, he doesn't. Noise cannot make me fear. Well, what has made him fear? The previous morning, a dream. Remember when she first arrives, what's he doing? He's dreaming about this moment. And so when she says, oh, by the way, I have a good luck charm. Yeah, I'll take it. So he cries out, who's the master of this place? And we hear a voice, just hold your horses. Wait, and you shall quickly have all that I promised you once. Okay. The Green Knight understands presentation. He knows how to make an entrance. Coming down the gold escalator, as it were. Getting on Twitter and everything. So, he comes out with his big axe, and what are we told? 22:23. A Danish axe newly made for dealing the blow. Massive blade curving back on the shaft, honed with a whetstone, 4 feet across. That is, the blade looks like this. From here to here, it's 4 feet. So, Sorry, from here to here, probably 4 feet. This is a big stinking axe. Okay? And he comes across, the Green Knight does, dressed as at first. Flesh, legs, hair, beard, everything in green. He sets the handle to the ground, walks beside it. He comes to the stream where we're told he refused to wade. He hopped over on his axe, forcefully strides, comes to Sir Gawain. Notice, there's snow. Why? It's winter. And the knight says to him, with a frosty bow, "Good sir, a man may trust your vow. A man may trust your promise, your oath." What oath? Go back to this. This is the beginning. I don't know why I have this reversed. This is the beginning. What did Sir Gawain promise him? I'll beat you in a year and a day. Okay? He said, "May God protect you. You are indeed welcome to my place. You've timed your journey, true man should. You know the agreement 12 months ago, blah, 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 blah." Sir Gawain, "No, by God, who gave me a soul, the night, I shall bear you no grudge at all, whatever hurt comes about." I bear you no grudge at all. What's he really saying? Let not my death come on you. I don't bear you any ill will, even if you cut my head off. Just one blow. Remember, you only get one stroke. I'll stand still. I won't resist. And what does he do? He bends over, showing the flesh all bare, seeming unafraid. Why seeming? What kind of verb is that? If I were to say, Hugh Hefner seemed to have lived a virtuous life, most people go, I don't think that word means what you think it means. Okay? It's a condition contrary to fact. Okay? It's not true. So he seemed unafraid. Why? Because he is afraid. So the Green Knight gets ready. He raises his terrible axe. With all the strength in his body, he heaves it in the air, swings it as fiercely as if, meaning, what does the as if tells us? He's not going to. Okay? Had he brought the axe down as forcefully as he acted, the courageous knight would have been killed by the blow. But what happens? Sir Gawain goes, he looks. He's not supposed to look. He glanced sideways as it came sweeping down, and he does what? Flinched. Flinched. You're not supposed to flinch. Come on, you're a knight. You're supposed to be tough. Take the blow you have coming. And he goes, you're not him, who is reputed so good, who never quailed from not a knight, not a soldier, an army. He took on armies by himself. Okay? And now flinches for fear before he feels any hurt. I never heard of such cowardice. And he just kind of keeps going on. And Sir Gawain's like, oh, shut up. Okay? So Sir Gawain says, I flinched once, but won't twice hunch my neck. Though if my head should fall, I cannot put it back. He's kind of going, but I'm not like you, you know. Hurry up, by your faith, come to the point. Deal out my fate to me, do it out of hand. I shall let you strike a blow and not move. So the knight swings again and misses. Why? He had to make sure he weren't going to flinch again. Now I know that you got your courage back. Sir Gawain's like, so he swings a third time. And we're told, 23:11. He hurt him no more than to slash the back of his neck, laying open the skin. Okay? The Old English, the Middle English, 23:12, but sneert him on that side, that severed the hide. He severed the hide. Doesn't mean he slashed. He did what? you got to cut. It's not a real deep cut, but it's enough of a cut for it to draw blood. So that bright blood shot over his shoulders to the ground. Okay? And when the knight saw his blood spatter the snow and realized, I'm still alive to see the blood splatter the snow, he jumps. How far does he jump? We're told he leapt forward with both feet more than a spear's length. Now, the spear is minimum about 6 feet in length. Many of them were like 8 feet long, like a modern day javelin used in the Olympics. Some of those are even longer. So that's about 7 feet. The spear would be at least that. He does essentially standing broad jump with armor 7 feet long. He wants to get away from the knight, okay? And whips out his sword. He's like, all right, buddy, you and me, let's go at it. And the knight's just standing there, kind of laughing at him. The knight kept his distance, rested on his axe, set the haft on the ground, leaned on the blade, contemplating the man before him in the glade, seeing how valiant, fearlessly bold, armed and undaunted. He admired him much. And then he says, brave sir, don't act so wrathfully in this place. Why are you so full of anger? That's what wrath is, by the way. If you were Catholic in the Middle Ages, which means you were Catholic in the Middle Ages, in England, quote unquote, you were Christian, or you weren't in England, except for Jews. They didn't have to convert. But everybody else pretty much had to be, whether they believed it or not. So he says, don't act so wrathfully. So as a medieval Christian in Catholic England, you knew off the top of your head what the 7 deadly sins were. And anger? Oh, it's up there high. It's near the top. Comes after pride. Pretty sure it's right next to pride, in fact. No one has discourteously mistreated you. So he says, anger, don't be full of anger. Discourtesy, no one's acted discourteously. What's the knight getting at? He's getting at the kind of the points of the prosecution he's going to make against Sir Gawain. Or acted contrary to the covenant sworn at the king's court. Covenant, oath. So, anger, discourtesy, it's not one of the 7 deadly sins, but in the medieval chivalric system, yeah, it's pretty bad. Or broken an oath, that's pretty bad. You're not supposed to swear falsely. I promised you a blow and you have it. Think yourself well paid. I free you from the rest of all other obligations. And Sir Gawain's probably thinking, what other obligations? There weren't any other obligations back at King Arthur's court. Had I been more dexterous, why does he bring up the term dexterous? Go back to the pentangle on Sir Gawain's shield. He's perfect in his 5 fingers. 10. He doesn't have 2 and 3. Okay? That's dexterity. Had I been more dexterous, like you are supposed, maybe I could have dealt you a more spiteful blow to have roused your anger. That is, to have deserved your anger. I don't deserve... Cool it. I don't deserve this, he's saying. First, I threatened you playfully with a pretense. Avoided giving you a gash, doing so rightly because of the agreement we made on the first night. What are you talking about? What first night? Notice, Sir Gawain doesn't reply because Sir Gawain doesn't have a clue what he's talking about yet. So what's the knight doing? He's saying, these are related to what? This, which is related to this. They're woven, they're braided together. Okay? So, the agreement we made on the first night, which was what? Whatever I go and hunt and kill in the morning, I'll give to you. Whatever you want, hunt, kill here. Whatever you find here, you give to me. So, first blow was what? Nothing. Why? You were faithful to me. Okay? Because of the agreement we made on the first night, when you faithfully, truly kept your pledged word, gave me all your winnings, as an honest man should. The other feint, sir, that is, when you didn't flinch, I gave you for the next day, when you kissed my lovely wife and gave me those kisses. And the light bulb is starting to dawn in Sir Gawain's mind. For on both occasions, I aimed at you two mere mock blows without harm. Why? Because the involvement you had with my wife was without harm. He's saying, I don't mind that you kissed her. Why? The whole medieval courtly tradition. That's proper. It's appropriate. We're not told what kind of kisses. We don't need to go there. So, he says, true man must pay back truly, then he need nothing fear. Oh yeah, there's the third day still. You filled me the third time and took that blow, therefore. True man must pay back truly. He didn't pay back truly, therefore, what's he just said about Sir Gawain? You are not a true man. What does that do to the pentangle? What happens if you pull one thread of the endless knot? Or one line? It no longer endless, right? And it disappears. For it's my belt you were wearing. Yes, I know all about it. That same woven girdle, my own wife gave it to you. I know well and truth. I know all about your kisses, all about your courteous manners, and my wife's wooing of you. I arranged it myself. We get a word in modern English that comes from a text written by Chaucer, Troilus and Cressida. Okay? Cressida, from the old Greek story of Troy and such. Cressida's name is also, in Shakespeare, becomes Cressida. Cressida has an uncle. Okay? And what does that uncle do? He procures her for a guy, Troilus, a Trojan. Right? What word do we use other than pimp for somebody who procures flesh for somebody else? A pandar. His name is Pandarus. We're getting ready for a presidential election. We're going to hear all kinds of pandering. Why? Because both sides, Trump on one side and all the 20-odd Democrat, not odd, but 20-plus Democrats on the other side are going to do what? Both sides are going to pander for what? Not sex. Well, don't know about that. Never know. But votes. How are they going to pander for votes? Give me your vote and I'll give you what you want. Free college education, free health care, free this, free that, free, whatever. Okay? So, he's just said, oh, by the way, yeah, I pimped my wife out to you. I was the one who set her on you. I sent her what? To test you. Notice, I didn't send her to actually have sex with you, which is why the poet says, on the second day, neither one did what? Neither one intended evil. Okay? She's testing him. She doesn't really want him to go through with it. And to me, truly, you seem one of the most perfect men who ever walked on the earth. Why? I think this has to tell us something about the Green Knight's wife. You said no to her? I mean, I've been using, Sir Gawain as, pick your favorite Hollywood hunk actor, etc. We haven't talked about the lady, because she's like the most gorgeous woman in the world. Sir Gawain thinks she's more beautiful than Guinevere. Okay? And he says, damn, man, how did you say no to her? You are what? One of the most perfect men in the world. As pearls are more valuable than the white peas, so is Gawain in all truth before other fair knights. Why? He is suggesting, Lancelot, he'd have been all over my wife. What's one of the reasons we know about that? Guinevere. Tristan, yeah, same thing. Galahad, maybe. Percival, he's the Holy One, so maybe not. Bors, Bedivere, all the others, yes. Only here you fell short a little and lacked fidelity. What's fidelity? Faithfulness. What's the here? He doesn't say it yet. He's going to come to it. And you lacked fidelity, not because of fine craftsmanship. That is, you didn't go, oh, I really have to have that sash because it'll go so well with my other suit of armor. It's not that. You wanted to live. That's it. You lacked fidelity. You lacked what? Faithfulness. In whom? In God? In yourself? In the oath? Okay. Why? You wanted to live. When I brought up, the early church and all the saints, etc., I did that for a reason. Even those that, pierced with swords and all that kind of stuff. Why? Because they didn't lack fidelity, according to the traditions that are given. They what? They walked into those arenas. They were killed. Some of them later lived. They were boiled. Some of them later lived. But although the vast majority were killed, eaten by lions, torn apart, dismembered, the whole 9 yards. They didn't count living as being more important. Sir Gawain did. So I blame you the less. The other brave man stood speechless a long while. He's just sitting there. He's still processing. Wait, she was your wife? It's like, you had me way back. Let me catch up with everything else you've been saying. So mortified and crushed that he inwardly squirmed. What does mortified mean? Put to death. Inwardly, he's what? Died. Why? Because outwardly he wouldn't. Okay? I don't mean, soul death. He's going to go to hell. I mean, Sir Gawain inwardly experiences kind of maybe what he should have physically experienced if he had been everything the Pentangle said he was. All the blood in his body burned in his face. Why? What's he experiencing? Shame. Shame. And not just he feels bad. This is real shame. He feels what? Again, the Pentangle. It's a lie. Everything that's been said about him. So that he went with shame at what the man said. The first words that he uttered were, a curse upon cowardice and covetousness. Cowardice and covetousness. Why those two things? What's a coward? Anybody. Person who runs away from a fight, right? Well, what fight did he have? Fight to the death. What did he run away from? He's Voldemort. To flee from death. That's what Voldemort's name means. To fly from death. He wasn't willing to die. Back to, what must I do to inherit salvation? He went to the priest and asked for it. What did Christ say to the rich young man? Go, give away everything you have and come and follow me. What's the come and follow me mean? Die. Die to yourself. Okay? Because he tells somebody else. You have to what? Take up your cross and follow me. Take up your cross doesn't mean walking around like some people do in the Philippines, at Easter. They get crucified. It doesn't mean that. It means What's the taking up the cross? Self-denial. He doesn't deny himself, does he? He says, no, it's more important that I live because I can do some good stuff. Okay? So that's the cowardice. What about covetousness? Yeah, that's another one of those 7 deadly ones. Cowardice and covetousness, breed boorishness and vice that ruin virtue. Well, what else ruins virtue? What's virtue? The word literally doesn't have anything to do with morality. Its etymology goes back to power. And it's power to perform, power to do something. Okay? But through the writings of Aristotle and others, it's the power for positive growth. It's the power to do something good. And what Aristotle and the Greek philosophers and then the Latin and Christian philosophers afterwards said it's what? The power to reach to the summum bonum, the highest good, which Socrates says is God. So virtue are those things that make you more and more and more like the highest good. Vices, exactly the opposite. Virtue, self-denial. Vice, me. Go around once, go for the gusto, serve yourself, screw everybody else. It's all about me. It's not about you. Okay? So, he does what? Unties the thing, throws it at the knight. He doesn't want to have this on anymore. Why? He thinks it teaches him, he says, cowardice and covetousness. There it is, the false thing. It's a thing. It's you damnable false piece of paper, you. It's a piece of cloth. It can't be false. What can be false? The one who wears it. People can be false. Okay? May the devil take it. And so does he throw it at him saying, you're the devil? No. But what did he say before the Green Knight showed up? Oh, this is the place of the devil. Is he maybe being a little bit ambiguous? I don't know that I trust you so much. And yet the Green Knight talked about God. He's going to talk about God even more. For fear of your blow taught me cowardice. Let me look at the Middle English. Yeah, it does say taught. For care of thy knock. Your knock on me, he says, taught me cowardice. What's he mean by taught? I teach a course, Harry Potter and the Lord of the Rings. And in the second book of the Harry Potter oeuvre, Chamber of Secrets, Dumbledore tells Harry, it is our choices, Harry, far more than our abilities, that show what we truly are. Okay? He says, your sash taught me cowardice. Dumbledore says it's our actions that show what we truly are. What does Dumbledore mean by that? The show is it reveals what's inside. Notice what Sir Gawain is denying about himself.
That he's responsible for his actions.
Exactly, that he's a coward. He says, fear of your blow taught me cowardice. I wasn't a coward before this. How do we know? Because of his press clippings? Because of the pentangle? Has he met something like this before? No. Fear of your blow taught me cowardice to give way to covetousness. That is, that itch of a wife of yours told me this thing will what? It'll keep me alive. And because she woke me up that morning, and I was thinking, and she said, "You're in good hands. I have an insurance policy now. Fear of your blow taught me cowardice, to give way to covetousness, to..." Look at the next half line. What does that next half line tell us? Reveal to us about Sir Gawain. Be false to my nature. Lavandria, the look on your face tells me you know exactly where I'm going. Either that or totally clueless, one of the two. I'm going to assume the former. What does he mean to be false to my nature? What's he saying about his nature? Louder. It's true. It's good. I am the pentangled knight. I am perfect. What's the medieval church teach at its heart? Go back to why the baby in utero has better be baptized pretty damn quick upon being born. It's not. It's what? According to St. Augustine, writer of the City of God and a book on Christian ethics and doctrine and such, everyone is born after Adam and Eve. Everyone is born with what? Original sin. What does original mean? From the origin. Adam wasn't. Why? He wasn't born. He was made from the dirt. And God breathed life into him. Adam's alive. So now Adam's all alone. He's in the garden with all the animals and he's lonely. God says it's not good for him to be alone. We'll make someone else. He makes Eve, breathes life into her. Adam's not alone. And what happened? Eve goes, that Starbucks pretty good. Why? Because the snake said Starbucks. Even though God said, don't drink the Starbucks. It's not good for people. He drinks. They get kicked out. And then, according to the biblical account, if you take the biblical, then they have sex. They don't have sex in the garden. At least it's not said they do. Who knows if they go behind the bush? Then they have Cain and Abel. It's from then original sin, according to Augustine, gets passed on. Why? Because Augustine said sex, pure and simple, leads to original sin. Why? It's the desire for sex. He called it concupiscence. Every sexual act, according to Augustine, is ultimately sinful, even in marriage. So the medieval church said, one, get married. Why? Because we'll all die, or we won't be here if we don't have people get married to have sex. Have sex in marriage for what purpose? And what purpose alone? Procreation. So have sex, make babies, but don't enjoy it. It's the enjoying it that is tied to that. Okay? So when we talk about the wife of Bath, what do we learn about her? She's been married how many times? 5. Why? She likes sex. And she likes to lord it over her husbands. Okay? So he says, what about his nature? I'm perfect. He alive? He ain't perfect. He's believed everything. He's saying, my nature is inherently good. The generosity, because he describes what he means by his nature. The generosity and fidelity expected of knights. Generosity means what? If I'm a generous person, what do?
Give.
I give things away. What did he not give away?
The sash.
And fidelity? Faithfulness. He wasn't faithful, was he? He lied to the knight. Okay? Those two things, that's what this whole thing is up here for. What are the temptation, the exchange, and the blow show? The temptation with the wife brings into question his understanding of courtesy, courtly love, tradition. The exchange of gifts, his generosity, his faith. The exchange of blows, his manly virtue. What's meant by that? Come on. Go ahead. I can take it. And his courage. Okay? These two, the lack of them, show. What What does show mean? It reveals his inner cowardice. This whole thing does what? It raises questions about that whole chivalric system. Okay? But we're not done. We're done for today, but we're not done with this. We're almost done. We'll finish this on pretty quickly on Thursday, so get a big jump into, well, we'll start The Wife of Bastille. I should have your papers back for you on Tuesday. It won't be Thursday, I know that. What is going on here? No, that's not the right one.